One of the biggest problems facing cinematographers today is loss of control. And all the way through this course, I'm going to be talking about trying to maintain control, but loss of control is one of our biggest issues at the moment. And that comes from basically from 15 stops of dynamic range. And what's happening is our images are being controlled by virtually everyone other than us. So we've got a DIT who controls the image on set. We've got producers who get to control it. We've got colorists who have control over it. So by the time you've created an image and it gets to either to air on television or into a theatre, it's quite often far from where you originally intended it to be. And part of the problem, as I said, is dynamic range, the enormous dynamic range that the cameras have got now, and also shooting in RAW and shooting in log gives such an expanded range that you've got detail all the way through to the highlights, all the way into the shadows. And so that image can be stretched any way you want. And that's what's giving people, in my opinion, way too much control over the images that we as cinematographers create. Now, that's not saying there's not some fantastic images being created, because there are. But one of the problems with all those images that are being created right now is they tend not to have too much heart. And I'm going to be talking about POV all the way through this course. And when I talk about POV, what I'm really getting at is who you are as a person, and what I want you to do is I want you to start drawing images from here and not from here, so that the images you create have a real soul and really tell a story. The problem with all the fantastic images that are being created at the moment is we really have no idea who's actually creating them, because the cameras have such incredible dynamic range that they can record almost everything that's in front of them. And on top of that, we've got DITs who are on set manipulating the image. We've got producers who manipulate it in post-production. We've got colorists who also have a bit of a shot at manipulating it. There are third-party LUTs that are being dropped into the image. So we really have no idea how much of the image is the actual work of the cinematographer and how much is the work of third parties who happen to be involved in the structure of the image. And what I want to do is I want to eliminate all that, and I want to get you thinking in terms of being an artist and being the person who creates the image from within yourself, rather than being someone who has to rely on the camera to do it all for you, or rely on a DIT, or rely on a colorist. What I want is for you to be able to structure an image and create an image that tells the story that needs to be told for the project that you're shooting, without having to rely on all these other things. Now, you can rely on them and you can bring them into play as part of your visual style, but essentially they've got to come from within you so that you're the artist who is actually making the image. As we go through this course, there are a lot of things that I'm going to say that you are going to feel are very mechanical. Now, being mechanical is about as far from being an image creator for me as you can possibly get. I don't believe in being mechanical at all. I like to go to a more artistic approach to cinematography than a technical approach. But in the beginning, you need to go through the mechanics, and you need to understand what the characteristic curve is, how it applies to your camera, how to set your ratios up in terms of over and under exposure, and then how to plug real-world exposures into those ratios to be able to create the image. Now, the more you do it and the more practiced you get, the easier it becomes, and then it becomes intuitive. And by the end of this course, I'm hoping that you will have enough information to be able to go out and practice this stuff and very quickly make it become part of who you are, so that you're going out and creating images that are motivating audiences and telling great stories, rather than images that are simply part of the technical parameters of the camera system that you happen to be using. Ultimately, what I'm getting at is you need to be able to go out and create images that come from here instead of from here, so that the images have a real heart and a real soul, rather than just being technically perfect images that look fantastic, but actually don't tell a story. What you need to do is go out and create images that are still technically perfect, but have your heart and soul in them and tell an incredible story.